beef with the people we got beef with, but we could go anywhere in the country because we are America's most wanted.
Exactly.
Snoop Dogg's image might not be as flawless as it seems. Once seen as the voice of the streets and the symbol of West Coast rap, he's now more of a laid-back TV personality and brand icon, but not everyone's buying the act.
Studio and said, I don't know why this Snoop's calling me. I'm not telling this where I'm at.
Somewhere along the way, the story of Snoop Dogg shifted, and that switch has fans wondering what's real and what's just smart marketing. These days, he's more famous for commercials and collabs than his music. He's become a global celebrity that even your grandma recognizes. But in the rap world, some people feel that the legend title doesn't hit the same anymore. There's quiet talk in the industry that Snoop might have cleaned up his image a little too much, leaving behind the realness that once made him untouchable. And that's where the drama begins. What actually caused tension between him and Tupac before everything went down? Why do some rappers keep hinting that Snoop exaggerated his friendship with Biggie? And what if some of those old stories he told about his past weren't exactly how things happened? The whispers around Hollywood say that Snoop's reputation isn't as bulletproof as it once was. And with all the new rap beefs popping off, like the Drake versus Kendrick chaos, some fans think the spotlight might be shifting away from Snoop for good.
Yeah, I got my little cousin Snoop Dogg in the house. We'll come up here and rap. Before he could give me the mic, Tupac grabbed him.
It's starting to look like Snoop Dogg's legendary status isn't as untouchable as it once was. There was a time when he stood at the top of the rap world, straight out of Long Beach, California, the cool, laid-back voice that everyone wanted to sound like. When Dr. Dre discovered him back in the early 90s, it felt like Snoop was destined for greatness. But the world he came from wasn't exactly clean-cut, and that mix of street life and fame came with a price. Back then, Dre was teamed up with Suge Knight, the powerful head of Death Row Records, a label known for its deep ties to LA's toughest crews. Snoop's background wasn't any simpler, and working with Dre meant stepping into rival territory. Still, when Snoop got in the studio, all that tension turned into pure success, and soon enough, his name was everywhere. When Doggy Style dropped in 1993, it exploded. The album sold over 800,000 copies in its first week and dominated the charts for weeks. It wasn't just music, it was a movement. Death Row became the loudest name in rap, and Snoop was the label's golden star. But even at the height of his fame, whispers from the streets followed him like a shadow. Rumors about dangerous run-ins and messy drama started swirling while he was recording, making people wonder just how close Snoop really was to the chaos around him. Some say one violent night nearly ended his career before it began. And though the story was spun as self-defense, fans have been debating what truly went down ever since. That case followed Snoop like a shadow for years, and no matter how high he climbed, the whispers never stopped. At one point, he even showed up to the MTV Awards while the police were actively looking for him. Talk about living on the edge.
My folks got at me and told me, they said, man, you been really acting like Martin Luther King lately. We want to see Malcolm. So, Malcolm is here to address all of this negative energy that's going on. First of all you talking that shit about Snoop can't come to the hood, he can't do this. I can do whatever I like when I like. Second of all, you is 50 years old. You can't get a job, cuz? You mad at me, cuz?
People close to him say that if things had gone differently, his career and his freedom could have vanished overnight. There are even stories that Suge Knight had to step in behind the scenes just to keep Snoop from ending up behind bars for good. By 1996, the whole world was watching when the case finally hit trial. Snoop brought in one of the most powerful defense lawyers in the game, Johnny Cochran, the same attorney who famously defended O.J. Simpson. It was a media circus from start to finish, and when the verdict came back not guilty, the rap world exploded. Snoop was free, but insiders say the whole experience changed him. The danger, the headlines, the pressure, it all forced him to rethink what kind of life he wanted to live. But just when things started to calm down, Death Row Records brought Tupac into the mix. And that's when everything got messy again. Pac came in like a storm, turning the label into ground zero for the East Coast versus West Coast chaos. He was openly calling out Biggie and Diddy, while Suge Knight had his own personal grudge to settle with Puffy. Snoop suddenly found himself standing in the middle of a fire that was way bigger than him. On one side, he had loyalty to his label and the people who built his career, and on the other, the growing fear that this war might destroy everything he'd worked for. When the East Coast versus West Coast drama hit its boiling point, Snoop wanted nothing to do with it, and that decision changed everything. At the height of the tension, he gave an interview where he spoke kindly about Biggie and Puff, trying to cool things down. But to Tupac, that was pure betrayal. Pac had stood by Snoop through his darkest moments, even showing up in court during his trial to show support. To him, loyalty was everything, and Snoop's words felt like a knife in the back. Pac had treated the death row crew like family, but that bond shattered in seconds. Suddenly, whispers started flying through the label that Snoop had turned his back on his people just to keep things peaceful with the other side. Many at death row saw his shout-out to Bad Boy Records as straight-up disloyalty, and once that trust was gone, it never came back.
Because I can't do nothing to help you no more, because I'm focused on helping out the kids, putting football programs, doing positive things in the hood. You mad, cuz? You mad because I won't call you big homie? Because I'm 40-something years old and I refuse to call another nigga big homie that ain't got a job, that ain't got a car, but mad and jealous at me because of what I'm doing, trying to blemish my name and my character? Because I am the LBC. And me and my young homies, we got a great relationship. And furthermore, I just want to let y'all know that
Suge Knight later claimed that Tupac was furious after the interview and even tried to confront Snoop about it. And according to Suge, the tension ran deeper than anyone realized. He said Snoop wasn't just jealous of Pac's rise, but actually afraid of what Pac might do next. Snoop himself once admitted that when he found himself alone with Tupac on a private jet, he was on edge, ready for anything to happen. The friendship that once looked unbreakable had turned into something cold and dangerous, and the fallout would haunt both of their legacies forever. After Tupac's shocking death in 1996, Death Row Records started to crumble from the inside out. Suge Knight ended up behind bars for violating probation, and Snoop quietly made his exit from the label, but that move only sparked more rumors. Even today, people still whisper about what really happened in Vegas that night, and Snoop's name always seems to come up in the mix. The tension between Snoop, Tupac, and Suge hadn't disappeared before Pac's death, and that's what keeps the speculation alive. Suge has even claimed that Snoop might have known something about what was coming, saying he warned his crew, Thaw Dog Pound, to stay away from Vegas that weekend because something big was about to go down. Some say Snoop's distance was just luck, but others can't help wondering if he'd heard talk of danger before it hit the headlines. There are stories that Warren G., who first connected Snoop and Dr. Dre, was chilling with Snoop the same night Pac was shot, and that things got strange fast. Suge later alleged that Snoop was listening to a radio feed when news of the Vegas shooting came through, almost as if he was hearing it unfold in real time. Whether that story's true or just another death row legend, nobody can say for sure, but the timing, the silence, and the bad blood between them keep the mystery alive.
Big out at California, 3-4 weeks, and Snoop never saw him. Snoop never came to smoke nothing with him. Snoop never came to eat nothing with him. But it was a whole lot of love. Come on, man.
To this day, some fans can't shake the feeling that Snoop might know more about that night than he's ever let on, and that shadow still hangs over his legacy. According to some wild claims, Snoop supposedly knew what was happening in real time the night Tupac was shot, hearing the pow 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 over the radio before anyone even knew what had gone down. Allegedly, he turned to the people around him and said, "They just got Tupac," which left everyone asking the same question. How could he have known that so quickly when nothing had even been announced yet? The timeline doesn't quite add up, and when you start connecting the dots, the whole thing starts sounding a lot darker. The man now accused in Tupac's murder, Dwayne Keefe D. Davis, was known to be tied to the Southside Crips, the same gang that Snoop was loosely connected to back in the day. And according to Keefe D's own story, there was supposedly $1 million bounty placed on Tupac and Suge by none other than Diddy himself. Diddy has completely denied that claim, but when you mix that with Snoop's friendly attitude toward him during the height of the East Coast versus West Coast war, it's no surprise that some fans think something doesn't quite sit right. What really fuels the rumors, though, are the things Snoop has said after Tupac's death. People who were actually close to death row have accused him of bending the truth about how tight he and Pac really were. Reggie Wright Jr., who handled security for the label, even called him out publicly, saying Snoop tried to act like he was against Tupac's diss tracks toward Biggie, when there's clear footage of him on stage vibing while Pac performed those exact songs. Reggie flat out said, "Look at him at the House of Blues, he's right there." And then there's Snoop's so-called friendship with Biggie. Snoop's been vocal about their bond, but insiders say that story doesn't match what really happened. Diddy's former bodyguard Gene Deal once revealed that Biggie actually had little respect for Snoop and that the two were never close at all. Whether these claims are true or not, they've made people question just how honest Snoop's storytelling has been, and whether he's been rewriting hip-hop history to protect his image. When you look closer, it almost feels like Snoop carefully built this whole image of being the peacemaker, not just for the culture, but for his own survival in the industry.
Us had 100 with guns.
Right.
So listen to what I'm telling you.
Yeah.
By me saying he didn't want none didn't mean he didn't punk out. It mean he just didn't want to
Go there.
all the way there because we was in New York in Central Park with 100 goons from New York.
After all the chaos surrounding Death Row, he started presenting himself as the calm voice between two sides, telling the media he was cool with both Tupac and Biggie. Some say it was less about peace and more about protection, a clever way to step away from the dark Death Row reputation and rebrand himself as someone untouchable. Gene Deal even claimed that Biggie saw straight through Snoop's act and didn't vibe with him at all. According to people who were around back then, Snoop had a talent for saying what sounded good to the press, and over time, that charm helped him dodge controversy and stack up millions. The peaceful Snoop persona might have been the best business move he ever made. After cutting ties with Death Row, he joined Master P's No Limit Records in New Orleans and kept reinventing himself. By the mid-2000s, his collaboration with Pharrell on Drop It Like It's Hot turned him into a global superstar all over again. Then came another twist. In 2012, he claimed a spiritual awakening, adopted the name Snoop Lion, and dropped a full reggae album. 6 years later, he switched it up once more, saying he'd become a born-again Christian and released a gospel record. Through every transformation, Snoop managed to rewrite his public image piece by piece. Once viewed as a dangerous figure from the streets, he turned into America's favorite chill celebrity. The same guy you now see cracking jokes with Martha Stewart on TV. It's a full-circle transformation that has fans asking, was it all genuine growth? Or just another reinvention to keep the spotlight shining his way? Snoop's transformation has gone so far that he even has his own kids' cartoon, Doggyland. From cereal commercials to tech ads, it sometimes feels like the only person who does more promo work than him is Shaq.
Didn't even see them. I did because I got a gangbang mentality. I seen when start circling and putting their hands in their pockets while Pac is in his ear telling him, I made a song dissing you, Jay-Z, Biggie. And I ain't got no problem with you, Pac. All right, well, if you ain't, I love you, Pac. Shook the hand.
Over the years, Snoop turned his image into a money-making empire, raking in hundreds of millions by presenting himself as hip-hop's ultimate peacemaker. But according to some insiders, that whole peaceful uncle story might not be as real as it looks. In 2022, Snoop made a huge power move when he bought back the rights to Death Row Records, bringing his journey full circle. It was the ultimate comeback moment. The same label that once defined his rise and chaos was suddenly in his hands again. And just when it seemed like he couldn't get any bigger, things took an even more surprising turn. Reports say that by 2024, Snoop managed to get that old 90s case sealed for good, meaning the public can't access any of the files or evidence anymore. That decision had fans whispering again, almost like Snoop was rewriting his own history. Even though he spent years selling the image of peace and positivity, Snoop still manages to get tangled up in new controversies. When the Drake vs. Kendrick Lamar feud exploded, Snoop's reaction had the whole West Coast side-eyeing him. Drake dropped the Tailor-Made Freestyle, a diss track that used AI-generated voices of both Tupac and Snoop, and the internet went wild. The fact that Snoop's voice was used in that track sparked confusion and frustration. And when Snoop responded, his strange mix of humor and deflection left people wondering whose side he was really on. For someone who built a legacy around keeping the peace, Snoop sure finds himself at the center of chaos time and time again. After the whole AI drama, Snoop tried to laugh it off online, but fans could tell something felt off. The moment Drake used his voice in that diss track, it wasn't just a random gimmick.
He tried to Facebook bang and try to get junctions and lawsuits or whatnot, so in a minute or two, me and you will be able to holler face to face like you really don't want. But you're gonna get that. You're gonna get that face to face with me, and I'm gonna give you the intellect that you totally deserve. Because you cannot disrespect a king. I'm the king of Long Beach. I made it fashionable for to bang the dub. I made it universal, motherfucker. I'm the that took the set around the whole globe. Yeah, that's me. That's who. But now I'm doing positive things now. I'm enlightening homies and showing them how to get it a different way.
It dragged Snoop straight into one of the biggest rap beefs of the decade. Kendrick's fans felt disrespected, and suddenly, the same man who once called himself a bridge between artists was getting called out for staying too quiet when the West Coast needed his voice the most. Instead of backing Kendrick, Snoop played it cool and neutral, cracking jokes like everything was fine. But people saw that as a sign he was protecting his brand instead of standing for loyalty. Social media lit up with posts calling him a sellout, saying he'd rather play it safe with industry giants than take sides with his own city. Some fans even claimed this was the moment the Uncle Snoop act finally started to crack. Behind the scenes, rumors began swirling that Snoop's team was scrambling to control the narrative, keeping his name out of any real conflict. But that silence spoke louder than any statement. For years, he's been the man who could walk between rival camps untouched. But the new generation isn't buying that neutral peacemaker image anymore. And what's wild is that every time a new controversy hits, it somehow circles right back to Snoop. Whether it's his sudden power moves in business, his carefully timed public appearances, or his habit of switching personas, people can't help but wonder, is this all part of a plan to stay relevant? Or is his empire finally starting to show cracks? Snoop might still smile for the cameras, but the whispers about his motives are louder than ever. The man who once ruled gangsta rap has turned into one of Hollywood's smoothest survivors. But in a world where everyone's receipts are one click away, how long can he keep the truth under wraps? These days, Snoop Dogg stands as one of the most recognizable faces in entertainment, a global icon, a businessman, and a pop culture powerhouse. But behind all the smiles, brand deals, and smooth talk, more people are starting to wonder who the real Snoop Dogg actually is. Every few years, it feels like he reinvents himself again. One day, a gangsta rap legend, the next, a TV personality, a reggae artist, a gospel singer, and now, the uncle of hip-hop. That kind of flexibility keeps him on top. But it also makes fans question what's authentic and what's carefully scripted. The deeper you look, the more it seems like Snoop has mastered the art of survival in an industry built on controversy. While others around him fell victim to fame, drama, or worse, he's always managed to slide through untouched, coming out looking cleaner each time. Some call it brilliance, others call it manipulation. Either way, his ability to dodge backlash while keeping everyone entertained is unmatched.
I refuse to put a pistol or a sack in my little homie's hand. I put a mic in his hand, or an inbox, or a drum machine, or maybe a video camera. That's what I do. I enlighten my young homeboys, because I know the truth. And ain't none of you put me on the set, and ain't none of you motherfuckers gonna kick me off the set, mother. Yeah, big Snoop Dogg. Don't get it f***ed up.
Still, with every reinvention comes more speculation. Did Snoop build his empire by learning how to play both sides of every story? Is his image of peace and wisdom just another mask to cover up a past full of secrets that never quite went away? Even his biggest supporters admit that nobody moves through decades of hip-hop politics without getting their hands dirty somewhere along the way. What's certain is that Snoop's story is far from over. Whether he's the ultimate survivor or the slickest player in the game, his name continues to spark conversation and controversy in equal measure. One thing's for sure, Snoop Dogg has built a legacy that's too big to ignore, but the question hanging in the air is the same one fans keep asking. Is he truly the peacemaker he claims to be? Or the most strategic storyteller hip-hop has ever seen? That tailor-made freestyle turned into one of the most controversial moments of the year. Some fans thought Drake was being clever, flipping the voices of two hip-hop legends to make his diss track stand out, while others saw it as pure disrespect. But the real shock came when Snoop actually reposted the song on his socials. For someone who's always been looked at as the West Coast's ultimate OG, that move felt like a major violation to a lot of people. Even Kendrick's supporters couldn't believe it. After the backlash, Snoop apologized and took the post down, but the damage was already done. Fans started digging into his past again, questioning every move, every alliance, and every time he seemed to switch sides when things got tense. It was like the mask slipped for a second, and everyone caught a glimpse of the Snoop behind the brand. Suge Knight even chimed in from prison, saying this is exactly who Snoop has always been, and that nobody should be surprised after everything that's gone down between him and Tupac. And maybe Suge isn't completely wrong, because if there's one thing Snoop's proven over the decades, it's that he knows how to adapt. From Long Beach corners to the Super Bowl stage, he's reinvented himself more times than anyone can count. But now, that constant switch-up is starting to backfire. People are tired of the rebrands, the contradictions, and the nice guy act that doesn't always line up with his history. So what do you think? Is Snoop Dogg still that unshakable legend who earned his place at the top? Or has all the switching up finally caught up with him? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, because this story keeps getting crazier. And if you enjoyed this deep dive, make sure to like, share, and subscribe for more wild breakdowns just like this one. You won't want to miss what's coming next.